Hey everyone, it's Sarah, and today I'm going to be sewing the Cadence tights from Amelia Lane. This is one of their new athletic patterns that released just a few weeks ago. I'm going to be using this mauve Sportivo from the shop. It is still available. For options, I am going to do View B, which has pockets, in the shorts length. With a gusset. So I have already made myself several pairs of these because they are so comfy. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. I should also mention that this pattern comes in a petite, a standard, and a long length, which is super helpful for those that are not the standard 5'6". So I am 5'4", and normally I would shorten 1 inch. However, I love how these fit me without shortening in the shorts length, so I am not going to shorten these today. So, as you can see, I'm using my projector, so these are super projector friendly files with large lettering, thick lines. So I'm going to go ahead and cut. So I'm cutting my View B back, cut 2 mirrored, so I do have my fabric folded in half. And then you can see this little line here. I'm going to cut that as well because that's for our gusset. And then I'm going to go ahead and clip these together. Then I'm going to move my pattern just a little bit to get those fronts. Again, cutting that line off since I'm adding a gusset. If you weren't going to add a gusset, you would just cut on this solid line like you normally would. Alright, perfect. So I'm going to clip those as well. So now I'm going to move my pattern just a little bit more. You can see this gusset down here that I'm going to cut. So it says cut 1. I prefer to always double cut my gussets. And I think this just stems from one of the first patterns that I ever used for leggings had a double gusset. So I always cut 2. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that. And on this, it is important which one is the front and which is the back. So I'm going to add 2 clips to where the front is. One on one side, one on the other, and set it aside. Now you can see that I have the pockets here. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those. So it's cut 2 pocket outers. As you can see, I'm doing it all in one color. I super am into that like monotone legging look right now. Again, clip and set aside. Now as we scroll our pattern, you'll see our waistbands come into view. Oops. So here's the front waistband that I will need to cut. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 of those. So one is for your main and one is for your lining. So if you wanted to do a different fabric for the lining, if you were trying to conserve your main fabric, you would cut 1 of each. And again, clip. Alright, so now I'm going to need to rotate my pattern to get the last 2 pieces, which are the back waistband and the pocket liner. Oops. So here you can see up here is my back waistband, and that's also cut 2. I'm going to go ahead, hope it fits right here, yep, to maximize my fabric. So I'm going to cut 1 and then move my fabric around and cut another. Alright, so we have 1 back cut, and now I'll go ahead and cut another one. Perfect. So, and then now we just need to cut this back pocket liner. So it's a cut 1. Oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to squeeze it quite up there. So one super cool thing I love about using a projector for sewing now is I feel like I can do more fabric Tetris. So kind of like finagle my fabrics to fit better, which I love. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this whole big piece out. Perfect. So now we have all of our pieces done, and the next step is going to be to top stitch our pockets. Alright, so the next step to prep our tights is going to be to hem these pockets, the tops of them. So I'm going to go ahead and fold down the tops 1/2 inch. Alright, so now that I have each of the tops folded 1/2 inch towards the wrong side, I will take you over to my cover stitch and we're going to stitch those down. Alright, so I don't have anything that matches super great, so I'm going to use this maroon as a contrast. I am just going to send these through. And if you don't have a cover stitch, of course, you can do all of this on your standard machine. You'll just want to make sure that you're using some sort of stretch stitch so that they move with your body. So that's one top stitch, and we will top stitch the other quickly. Perfect. So now I'm going to take you over to my serger and we will get started on the main construction. So the first part we're going to sew is this back seam. So right sides together, send it through your machine. Like so. So now the next step will be to clip our pockets to that pocket lining. So I have the pocket lining face up, and I am going to go ahead and match those pockets to the sides that they belong. And I'm just going to go ahead and clip along the whole area. So now we have one attached. And if you are new to working with athletics or just want a little bit of extra security, you can go ahead and baste that down on each side. I opt not to and just hope for the best. So again, clipping my pockets to the pocket lining. Perfect. So now we have this piece with our pockets attached, and we're going to fold it in half. And I'm going to put a clip right here at this point. So this will be our center back, which should match up exactly with the center back of the part we just sewed. So I'm going to put my backs right sides up, and the top is right side up, and I'm just going to fold it so that they're right sides together and clip that together. Now I'm going to work my way down. And what I like to do is I like to clip this part of the pocket in first. So I'm going to go ahead and toss a clip in there. And then just kind of ease my pockets into the curves. There shouldn't be lots of tugging or stretching in this process. So we have one side clipped in, and I'm going to go ahead and do that same thing on the other side. Perfect. So now you can see that we have our back pockets attached. So the pocket lining, the pockets, and the back all clipped together. So the next step will be to sew along this back curve. Great, so now we have that back part complete. I love a good reverse cover stitch, so I'm going to go do that quickly and then we'll move on to attaching the fronts. Alright, so I actually messed up just a touch. I forgot that we were doing the gusset option, which needed to happen before we sewed this back seam. So I'm just going to do a little bit of seam ripping here, and we can still get it in there. Alright, so I'm just going to cut these long strings. Alright, so to do the gusset, we will first need to find the gusset. There it is. So we're going to sew this. So these clips indicate the front, so this is the back. So we're going to go ahead and put that right sides together here. So the back part to this back where we cut for the gusset. And I'm going to go ahead and sew that. And then I'm going to clip this other part of the back to this other section, like so. And now we're going to sew this all up. So you would do this before you sew on this back piece. So you would sew from this point on the gusset all the way up to the top. I'm going to sew from the gusset to probably halfway up my stitching, and then I'll weave my ends in. So I'm just going to tuck this end in quickly with a large eye needle. Like so. Alright, we are now ready to move on to the front. So I am going to go ahead and grab my front pieces, kind of open up one side of my shorts. For these, you sew the side seams first. So I am going to line those up like so. So right sides to right sides. And I'm going to go ahead and clip those in place. And then the same thing on the other side. Right sides to right sides. So then I'm going to go ahead and sew both of those. So then I also like to reverse cover stitch these front seams, so I'm going to do that, and then we'll be back to attach the gusset to the front. Alright, so you can see that I have top stitched this front part, and so now we're going to go ahead and attach the gusset. So the first step will be to fold over and match them up. So I always start at the bottom and toss some clips in as I go. Tossing one right before the gusset, and then you kind of have to finagle the gusset up into place. Which is perfect. So now I'm going to stitch from this green clip all the way up to this purple clip. So now we have one leg complete, and now we need to complete the other leg. So we're going to fold this side over. And I'm going to start at the bottom again and just clip all the way up to the top. So I'm going to clip another clip here at the top. And then just line everything up, basically. So our gusset will fall into place, or should fall into place. Perfect. So now we're going to sew from this purple clip all the way up to this purple clip, and that will complete the main shorts part of these Cadence tights, besides hemming, and then we'll work on our waistband. Great, so now we have something that resembles some shorts. I'm going to go ahead and grab my waistbands. So these are my fronts. And I need to find my backs quick. I'll be right back. Alright, so my backs accidentally ended up in my scrap bin. Seems to happen all the time for me. So what I'm going to do, since I'm using the same for my main and my lining, it's not a very big concern. But if you are using different, you will want to match your front main and your back main, and then your front lining and your back lining. So So I'm going to go ahead and match those up. Toss a clip on each one. And then these are right sides together. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and sew these together. So there should be 4 seams that you're going to be sewing right now. Perfect. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut these all apart. And then we're going to line them up right sides together. And as you would imagine, front to fronts, back to back. Oops. So I have mine clipped together, right sides together. For legging waistbands, I always like to add a small piece of clear elastic at the top. I use 1/4 inch because that's just what I generally have on hand from the shop. So I'm going to thread up my serger for that. So I find a small strip of clear elastic at the top helps my leggings or bike shorts stay up all day while running around, which is why I add them. So it just goes in that top seam where we would already be sewing to make the 2 pieces one. And you will not want to stretch this elastic at all if you do choose to add elastic. So we are now going to flip our waistband, so wrong sides together, and clip at the 2 front seams. And at this point, I'm also going to fold my waistband in half, matching those front seams, and put a clay clip in the center back. That will help me line everything up when attaching it to the leggings, which is what we're going to do now. So this pattern is designed for the front waistband to match up with these front side seams. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do right away, is match those up and clip it in place. And then for this back part, this back seam doesn't go all the way up to the top because of that pocket lining. So I'm just going to do my best to line that blue clip marking my center back waistband up with the center back, like so. So now we're going to go ahead and sew that all in. I always toss one of my tags in so I can stamp the size on, so that I remember what size I've made, so that I can make a million more pairs without having to constantly remeasure myself. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this on. You should not have to stretch your waistband hardly at all. So if you are having to stretch your waistband, go back and double check that you've cut the right pieces and that you're using the correct seam allowance. Alright, so then the last step before you can wear them, well, you could wear them now, but would be to hem the bottoms. So I'm going to find my slide rule and turn each bottom up 1/2 inch, and I will meet you over at my serger. Alright, so I have turned up the hems on these, and so I am going to go ahead and stitch them down. Alright folks, so there we have it. We have now completed the Amelia Lane Designs Cadence tights in bike short length. I used view B with a gusset. And I am just currently trimming up some of these threads. Because I am definitely the sewer that if I don't do it while I'm sitting here, they will never get trimmed and they'll just hang there. Alright, so I will toss a few pictures of my Cadence shorts in action at the end here, but here they are. You can see that they have a gusset, they have 2 pockets, and then this fun back yoke detail on view B. So thanks for sewing with me, and I can't wait to see you next time.